Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Gee, I hope I didn't make a mistake with these two. They promised me they'd bring in some really good guests. Well, anyway, here's Frank and Irene.
Okay, and we are back at Mother May I podcast with Mr. Frank Conniff and Irene Bremis. Frank, it's so nice to see you. You make me smile every single time.
Nice to see you. You make me smile big time.
So how's it going, Frank? How's it going in the world of COVID? Are things getting a little better in your neck of the woods? Or?
Well, I don't know if in terms of COVID, if things are getting better. My mood has been it's been challenging for me because I don't know if you've seen my posts on social media, but my cat has been very sick.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Millie, she had a major operation, and she's back from the hospital. She seems to be doing well, but you know, I have this thing with her where I have to give her medication and stuff, and I have to feed her through a tube in her neck sometimes, and it annoys. She doesn't go psycho on me when I do it, but she gets annoyed, and then she's like, "Well, fuck you. We're not friends anymore." And she goes into the closet and hides for like hours, and it kind of makes me sad. You know. Then like later, she comes out and hangs out and lets me pet her and stuff, and everything is cool between us. But then when I have to give her medicine, it like ruins everything. And there's a part of me that's just like, I just want to stop giving her the medicine, but I know that's not the good thing. I know I've got to keep taking care of her.
Well, that's because you're kind and you don't want her to suffer. It's ironic, like you've almost come full circle. She took care of you when you were sick. Now you're taking care of her when she's sick, except you weren't hiding under the bed when she was sitting next to you. Okay, so maybe we need to
I wasn't. And she's and I actually closed off my bedroom so she can't get into it because that has like all the really good hiding places. So she found a place in the closet in my hallway where she sits and stuff. And if she feels secure there, I'm okay with it. Let her sit there. You know, I don't try to influence her one way or the other. But she is getting better, and she, you know, she does like kind of feel like she's getting back to normal, which is good.
That's great. You know, Millie, and like most cats, like when my cat was really, really sick, they like to hide. They like to isolate a little bit. Like my cat often went into a corner underneath the bed, you know, while she didn't want to be around people. That's not the cat way. You know, they like to isolate. No. Yeah.
Well,
actually, it's my way. I like to go under the bed and isolate when I'm feeling a little bad too.
I'm the same way. And Millie, the thing is before she got sick, I hate to say this about her, but like the pandemic was like kind of a golden age for her. She was loving it because she seemed very peaceful, and like nobody ever came over to our house. So she loves that. Nobody was bothering us. She just had me
to herself, Frank, to herself for the first time.
To herself, and she was digging it a lot, and she still digs it, but. But then she got sick and had to have an operation to remove a stone inside of her. So it was pretty serious. But
oh boy!
So it kind of it ruined the pandemic for her, which sucks because she was loving it.
She was loving the pandemic, and stones are so damn painful, Frank.
Yes,
they're so painful,
are.
You know, so
it's good that they got it out, and she feels a lot better, and I'm trying to get her to eat more. I have to, if she doesn't eat, I have to feed her through the tube, which she doesn't like, and I don't like, So I just gave her like an appetite medication today, so hopefully that'll.
Really? Okay, that's exactly what I don't need. Is that like weed for the cat? Like so she can get
it gives her munchies, hopefully.
Okay. Right. So does she have any diet restrictions now because of the stones?
Well, they have this like liver cat food that they want her to eat, but they told me it was okay to feed her old like fancy feast or whatever. because she likes it. So as long as she's eating, she's fine. They would prefer it if she ate the kind of special food that they have for her, but that's I mix that in with a blend, and that's what I give her when I feed her through the tube. But
it's
as far
like
as eating, I had a can of tuna fish too, which I gave her some of that, and she likes that, But that's not that can't be her regular diet, though.
That can't be her regular. Well, it sounds like you've got things covered. You know what? Fancy feast, because she's fancy. It's sort of like, and then putting in the good stuff. That mixture reminds me of like putting a piece of kale on a Big Mac. She's. I'm sure.
That would be so wrong.
That would be so wrong. I know, for the Big Mac. Exactly.
Yes.
Of course. Well, Frank, I'm glad. I've been kind of pulling away from social media, but the minute I saw that Millie was in trouble, Frank, I was just like, oh my God, look at Frank. Now he's dealing with Millie. It seems like you've had a really rough time. First Barney, now Millie.
Yeah, Barney, my other cat, Barney, died a couple months ago, and so I'm just grateful that she's alive, and and it's costing me a fortune, which sucks. I can't tell. I'm paying more money for her than I paid on my own my own heart surgery. I'm not kidding, because I had insurance for as however, like, kind of not quite adequate that my insurance was. At least I had insurance. This Millie is like completely bankrupting me with her.
She's bankrupting you. Yeah. Now, tell me, isn't there such a thing as cat insurance, Frank?
There is, but it would be too late for me to get it for her now, because
she's a pre-existing. She's blanketed. Pre-existing.
I think the technical term for her is pre-existing conditions like a motherfucker. So. So for her, but if I ever like get a kitten or something like this time around, for sure I would get insurance.
Yeah, it makes sense, because we don't think about it, but then it is. I hear it over and over again, and I've experienced it myself. When you have a pet, they become your family. They're the only people you have. And we never foresaw a fucking pandemic happening. You have your pet, you want to keep your pet healthy, and all of a sudden this happens, and we're already bankrupt through this experience, and now you're being further bankrupted through these medical bills for Millie. Anyway, Frank, we love you. We're praying for Millie.
Yay.
I love Millie, even though she never comes out when I.
You never officially met her. All the times she came and visited me when I was sick, she never met anybody. Nobody ever saw her, because it was a big freak out for her to have all those people coming over. But Barney was around all the time. Everybody met Barney, but not
Barney.
Millie.
Yeah, but Millie's a little bit more reserved. Anyway, we're praying for Millie for a swift recovery, not only to Millie, but to your bank account, Frank, because I understand this is serious money that's being thrown.
Right.
Oh, man. Okay. So, Frank, the person that we have coming on the show today, I'm really excited that she's going to be on this show, because she's somebody that definitely doesn't normally do this kind of stuff. So I had to rope her into this shit, Will you please do this? She is one of the most, I want to say, the most influential sculptors and artists of our time. Quite literally, she's one of the most fascinating women I've ever known. I've known her for 30 years. She also named Rachel Feinstein, not to be confused with Rachel Feinstein. And we might have to talk about that little story, because we all know each other. I introduced them when I first started doing comedy. Rachel is most notably known for Baroque, fantasy-inspired, like the Snow Queen, which is what my husband calls me, actually. Actually, the snow-blowing queen before we got married. It's a very sad thing for him, which was drawn, a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, and countless other works that I've been privileged to see throughout the years, and most recently went to the opening of her latest show, Maiden Mother Crone, at the Jewish Museum, which is a retrospective. Actually, they can't call it a retrospective because she's too young, so they call it survey, which sounds kind of douchey, like they're still judging her somehow. But this is a show that I'm so grateful that I got to see. And then I actually went to a personal walkthrough with Rachel Dratch and Amy Poehler, which was absolutely mind-blowing. I want to bring this woman on. You're going to love her just as much as I love her. She's absolutely incredible. Let's bring her on, the lovely Rachel Feinstein Currin, everybody. Rachel Feinstein Currin. Hello, my love.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm outside in Maine right now.
Wow, lucky you.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
It's glorious.
Oh, and your doggy there.
Hi.
We've
Rachel,
already been talking about pets for the whole show so far, so this is appropriate.
Fantastic.
Rachel, meet Mr. Frank Conniff, who was
Hi.
also.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? He's
Good
Mr.
luck.
Green. His name is Mr. Green Jeans.
I know.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, yeah.
Rachel, how old is Mr. Green Jeans by now? This is
He's going
crazy.
to be 7. He's my remember Chewy was my first one. So they're
I do remember.
Affenpinchers, which are called monkey dogs in German, and they look a lot like Chewbacca from kind of or actually they look more like Ewoks. They have these crazy weird faces, and so he's the second one. The first one lived to be 13. And he's 7, so I hope he lasts.
Oh, he's got a long way to go.
He's got a long way to go, and he's the luckiest goddamn pet on the planet living with you. Okay, he's spoiled. In fact, he's in Maine.
Here, I'm going to turn this around just so you get a view of what I'm.
I have deep Maine envy right now.
It's pretty crazy here. I mean, it's just we've been coming up here for. I came here first in 1993, right before I met you, Irene. I was here for an artist colony called Skowhegan, and it's a famous artist colony that was founded in the 1950s. I think, I don't know, a lot of the big-time greats started this as a way for New York artists to come up here and have this kind of peace and quiet that you need to make art as an artist, because New York is awesomeness and amazing to focus and to work, but you need this time out, which is what this totally quiet here.
It's interesting.
How close is your closest neighbor?
I mean, so we're surrounded by this huge park called Acadia. So this house that we bought is grandfathered in from 1962 that has the park around it. So we have nothing at all across the way, but we do have 1 or 2 people on each side of us, probably about, I don't know, an acre away. It's not totally.
Wow.
Are they wearing masks, Rachel? Seriously.
Maine has very few cases, and people wear masks when they go shopping. But then when you're on a trail or you're walking, there's just no one really around you. So
there's no need.
And
I envy that a lot.
It feels very
peaceful,
very wonderful and normal to be here because of that. And I'm very grateful because we're coming back to New York next week. So it's kind of the ends of this period of a bubble of normalcy, because obviously that's not going to last very long.
It's not going to last. Right. This is, a place that you can be quiet. Well, Rachel, I was just telling Frank about going to your show and how grateful I am that I caught your show before Corona struck down and closed. And I'm upset. I'm still upset because I was going to come to that final, that final event with Sofia Coppola.
They kept it open. So my show has become like a fairy tale encased in a glass coffin as well. The show is going to be open again when the museums open, it's happening right now. And I think it's going to be open to the public until January 3rd. So they never closed it. So
they never closed it. No.
We can do a couple more events if it's allowed. We don't know what's going to happen at this point. Everything's up in the air. But it would have been great to do that that lady's incredible kind of lecture with Florence Welch. And
I was really looking forward to it.
And Tamara Jenkins and Lisa Scavage. We were going to talk about the idea of like whether a woman artist needs a narrative more than a male artist. The idea of a story or kind of some kind of thing that catches your fancy.
That's kind of fascinating. The idea of a narrative in visual art. It's not the kind of thing that those of us who just look at art, we don't think about that often. So I think it's really interesting, the idea of a narrative.
For me, I absolutely need it. When I'm asked to do a show, even the Jewish Museum, when they asked me to do the show, I knew it was going to be bits and pieces from my whole history of making art, but I kind of thought I needed a hook. I always need something to get me excited. And I think I was so focused on fairy tales my whole life. And when I was in college, because it's the story that brings you in. And then when you're in there and you're kind of into what's happening, you don't realize that you're learning things. It's the whole reason why fairy tales exist for children. It's the version of teaching you about good and evil and about doing the right thing and morality. And it's always been something for me that is very focused on little girls more than little boys in a lot of ways. And I became obsessed as a student at Columbia University about the stories of the real life Sleeping Beauty and things before Brothers Grimm got to them, because I also was a religion major, and there's a lot of thought that Lilith was this idea of the first Eve, the whole thing that goes
the incubus. A succubus. Sorry,
exactly. Well, she was the loudmouth Jewish wife that wouldn't basically be put in her place like Eve ended up becoming. And then people believe that she was actually rewritten out of the Bible by men who came in later and decided we want to rewrite everything. And so I think it's the same thing with fairy tales, the ones that we as girls watched with Sleeping Beauty and Snow White from Disney Worlds and all that kind of stuff. And Disney, it was very focused on this idea of a girl being woken up by a man's kiss. And the original stories are absolutely nothing to do with that.
And that's why I will never forget, like the just seeing your first installation that you did. Remember when I think what the exhibit was at Exit Art? Was it Exit Art?
It was
Exit Art, where you had Sleeping Beauty and it was going up and down, and she was violently being pounded.
Pounded by the castle on top of her, just going Exactly.
And it's so symbolic. And that's what I really love about your work, Rachel. I want to talk about some of the stuff that really struck me when I went to your show. It was just, and Frank, I told Frank, I don't know if you remember me saying this, Frank, but I definitely want to take you to see this. So we should go to the.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll meet you guys there.
Yeah, I would love it.
Oh, great.
Give us a personal walkthrough. I already told Frank about this a while back. I don't know if he remembers, but he's going to absolutely adore it, because he thinks in terms of this anyway. And, but when I saw some of the sculptures that you did that were taken from little figurines, Frank, she had like these little things that were figurines of these women that were from Victoria's Secret's models. And then they had like these botched, sort of like deformed faces. And this really spoke to me. I wonder if you get like all these different interpretations from people, how they view your work. For me, it was very powerful in the wake of what's going on with the Me Too movement, with what's going on with misogyny, with Black Lives Matter, everything that's going on with the marginalized people and inequality. I see these women and I see how their bodies are being exploited, but how they are broken and they are just... They're tired and they're faceless and they don't have an identity anymore.
I think that the whole thing started with this maiden mother crone idea of the show, because I had looked at this book at the Strand that was called Maze Madonna's Witches, and it was a book that was done in the early 60s, late 50s by a bunch of men using the source of women as the theme in art history. So it was sculptures by Picasso to the Venus de Willendorf talking about the female form. But it was all written and photographed by men, with Henry Miller and E.E. Cummings, all these major guys. And they basically, and I just realized, women have to always stand up to this kind of critique, no matter who we are and what we do. I mean, I was watching the Democratic National Convention and analyzing whether Michelle Obama had filler work done. And I never thought that about, about any of the men that were talking.
Exactly.
It's this
except for Jared Kushner. He's got some work done.
Ingrained thing in our brains. And I just have always wondered, like, why did that happen? And when did that get set up? Because it's just such a fascinating, also this experience of being in COVID right now. All my friends who, have these big families are just, they've been put back into like the dark ages with like cooking and cleaning and slaving away. And these are people that are CEOs of companies, or they, they're major agents, and it's just the most bizarre thing. Like, why does this happen? There's some biology to this. There is
or some road comic that hates to cook and clean, for the God's sakes.
I just keep wondering, there's got to be some reason to it. It's not completely from our time, and it's not based on society. It has to be based on something else, and I'm just trying to figure it out. And so the whole thing with when I was in my teens in Miami growing up in the 80s, I modeled, and I saw basically, this. It wasn't for me, it was about being a girl or a young woman modeling, because I was doing stuff with Bruce Weber, and he was doing the Calvin Klein Obsession ads. And for him, it was really about the beautiful man versus the beautiful woman. So I just watched it as an idea of people using youth.
That's right.
These older people sucking the young blood for their own reasons. And John's listening.
John, hi, come say hello, John. Oh my God.
He said, quit talking about me.
Older people sucking the life out of young women.
Mr. John Currin. Hi, John.
Hey.
John is John, thanks for popping in. By the way, talk about the power couple, Mr. John Currin, who's a legendary artist. I mean, come on. And Bradgelina, my butt. Am I right? This is a power couple. Those two are divorced. These two are forever.
I'm like the Scott Baio of power couples.
Oh my goodness! Wow. So you're Chachi and she's Joni. Okay.
You're
Chachi and Joni.
Joni. Yes, that's what he said. Yes, absolutely.
You're cracking him up, Frank, like you always do, buddy. Oh my God, that was amazing. I love.
He always has his zinger. That guy. He always has something really funny to say.
He's very funny, John. He's a Virgo. Let Frank do it. I know you want to. Frank does this when I'm. It's a Virgo. I know you had a birthday. Frank's birthday is on Sunday, right, sweetie? Your birthday
next week. This coming Sunday.
Week. Okay, so and when is John's birthday again? I don't know. I have to ask.
He's September 19th.
Oh, okay.
So that's coming. That's coming up too. So you're a Virgo too, then, right?
Mr. Virgo.
Yes, I am.
That's right, because that's coming up. Oh my God, I haven't even thought about what day of the week it is or anything.
Good, and it's better that way. But you know what? Let me pedal back to what you were saying about the DNC and how people were sitting there scrutinizing Michelle. First of all, Michelle Obama's speech blew me out of the water. She is just America's sweetheart. So elegant, so well stated, so amazing, so just she's remarkable, right? Yeah. But the fact that we're doing that is because everybody has to take a woman down. And if you can find some flaw with her, in some way, you're revealing that she's a liar. You're falsifying her. And if you do this, then you're discrediting her somehow. And that's what we do. That's why you're sculptors. And I want to ask you, what was the deeper meaning for those beautiful, larger than life?
It's an interesting thing because for me, when I was, there's, this Willem de Kooning, this incredible abstract expressionist from the 1950s, 60s. He made these.
My mom knew him.
Oh, he's like one of my. I think he's incredible. He's a hero, and he came over here, as an immigrant, and really invented himself from a completely different past. And that's when America, for me, was at its absolute brightest. Was that you could be somebody from another country, move to New York City. That was New York City at the moment, where you can just become an abstract expressionist painter and make things that never existed, and no one ever saw that stuff before. And for him, his famous thing were called the Violent Women series. They were paintings of a figure that was a woman, but it was really super aggressive and lots of splotches of colors. And so that was actually the inspiration artistically for the women. Okay. How do you take that image that a man has made as a painting and turn it around as a sculpture? And I'm a total sculptor. So sculpture itself is so different than painting because it is its own body. So you are confronted by the vortex of this object, and it has its own kind of gravitational pull, and it really makes you feel either small or big, or a woman or a man. And paintings, you lose who you are, and in your world, and you fall into this magical, mystical world behind the painting. So it's all about a fantasy world in your own head, and you lose your body. So so those women are so physical, and they've always been about the way Victoria's Secret shows make me feel as I've watched them over the years. And I made those little small versions that you've seen in the show in 2015. So before the Me Too thing started, I started to make those. And that's also the important thing, that now that I'm nearing 50, that I've realized all these years that...
And I hope I'm invited to your party.
Let's see if we'll see one. My God, with this...
Now talk about John. I got to interrupt for 5 seconds just to tell Frank about the last 2 birthday parties. First of all, where else can I go to a birthday party and be standing next to Mick Jagger and then do karaoke with him? These guys. Rachel and John.
You never told me about that.
It's crazy. Standing right next to Mick Jagger. But furthermore, John, who's like, and I don't want to start thinking about this because Steve won't get me roses because he says that I'm allergic, and I am. But come on, Steve, step up your fucking game a little bit. John here, for a milestone birthday, rented out this big thing and recreated a casino for Rachel with fake printed money. And Chrissy, another girl that we know, we actually gambled against John McEnroe. He was gambling at the table too. I had that low cut and he was staring at my titties. Remember?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
And he lost. Chrissy won. She beat him. And I have that collaborative work that I'm so grateful that I have. I have that sketch.
We're going to be making a book of those, so I'm going to have to get it photographed, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. No problem.
Yeah, Rizzoli's going to do a book on those drawings that we've been doing together. So,
well, here's how I negotiate. I'll give it to you if you won't sign it. Oh, what? You want to play hardball?
We've signed it before. It's not signed. Oh my God, yes, we have to. Absolutely.
Ooh, I can retire now. How nice. How nice. So one of the things that I want to talk about, because Rachel, I love you and John so much. You're my favorite couple in the world. I really unabashedly say that. I love you. You're both so generous. The only thing that's bigger than your talents is your hearts. Like, you're amazing. And the way that they got together, Frank, please tell us the story. I want everybody to hear the remarkable union.
Cool. I'm getting the sun hitting me. I'm going to move over this way a little bit. So basically, when John and so Irene met me right before I met John. So I graduated from Columbia in 93, and then I did this artist colony up in Maine. And then I did this show, and then I met Irene in 94, or like early 94, I think March of 94 it was when Bar 6 opened, and I hired her to be a fabulous waitress, and we would have the most fun. We had this crazy time at this job with Chrissy and a whole crew that we're all still good friends with. And
that's when you needed a headshot to be a waitress.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, absolutely. It was absolutely all about that. And we would have different outfits that we would work every night. Someone would wear something, and then sometimes I would always change.
Oh my God, Rachel would come in. And you know what, Rachel, this speaks to your work. You know, when I think about your intrepidity through the years, I'm not surprised that you took the monumental risks that you take in your work, because I think that's just who you are, and I think that's what you achieve to be. Frank takes a lot of risks in his comedy. He's very smart. He's very funny. He always pushes boundaries.
Hey, I take risks in the way I dress too. Come on.
That's awesome. Well, the truth is that I think the only way anything will change is if you take that big leap of faith, and it's always about that. And and everybody, like de Kooning, I was telling you about, you have to, just the fact that you got on a boat, came to New York, you have to do something that's scary to push.
Well, even for you, I would imagine just the idea of having a career and succeeding in the world of art, I mean, that's an incredible leap of faith, because I wouldn't even know how you would go about that. It's all about the faith that you're going to make something that people are going to respond to, and you're going to be able to have a livelihood from it. And you sort of have to be a little bit naive about it when you're starting out, don't you?
Absolutely. And it's the same thing with comedy. I think there are two worlds.
Yeah.
Like, reading this, there are two worlds that are so crazy, and people do not understand, like, how do you even go about even doing something like that? And my parents came from, my dad was a doctor. He was like first generation American. The idea of me saying, I'm going to be an artist. They're like, no, you're not. You're going to,
I'm marrying John Currin. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I don't want to get off the beaten path because we're running out of time and I'm so.
Okay, let me tell the story.
Yeah, okay, go.
Let me tell the story really quick. So basically I was doing this show that Irene was mentioning called Let the Artist Live, where I was living in this castle-like gingerbread house that I constructed, and a man came over to me at the opening. I had white platinum hair and I'd wear latex dresses. I was nothing like I look like right now. I was a complete crazy, I don't know. I look like a white goth, John said. I had this white hair that was all messed up, and I'd wear all these white clothes that were always dirty and ripped up and torn. And this guy came, and I also used to wear fake pubic wigs.
Yeah, you can't see it. We hate our low production.
I would wear like see-through clothes and then wear a giant black pubic hair merkin coming out of my underwear. I was totally insane. And this guy comes over to me and goes, you look like a John Currin painting. And I had never heard of John Currin. And I said, that's great, whatever. I walked away. He was wearing black leather jeans, a black leather vest, and a full black leather coat.
Quite the hottie.
Early September with elevator boots. And I was like, what is the story with that guy? And I got kind of heebie-jeebied out, and he kept calling me on the payphone of this gallery because I had to live there for 6 weeks, and he would always get me, and I'd be like, oh, it's him again, and I kind of hang up. And then he called up John from the White Pages and said, there's this beautiful girl, she looks like one of your paintings, and she's a good friend of mine. And he didn't know me, and I didn't know him, and he didn't know John. He just happened to somehow put us together. John walked into the gallery. I saw him. I walked over to him, and yes, of course, John's over there saying, "Is it okay up here?"
Yes, of course.
And then I kissed him half on the lips and half on the cheek because I was a little bit shy, but also strong. And then he kind of was like, "Are you Rachel?" And I said, "Yep." And that was that. And then about a week later, I'm with him in his house, in his loft on Houston and A, and we're deep in love. We're already talking about marriage and the whole crazy thing. And he then says, let's go to Paris together. I'm having a show. And I said, sure. That guy I called, his name is Timothy. Oh, the dog's coughing. His name is Timothy. And I said, John picks up, hi, Timothy. I just want to say thank you so much. I'm so in love. It's incredible. And Timothy goes, I've got another girl and she's even better. That's the real story. What did you say, John? And she has black hair. That's what the story was.
Wow,
we never know. This day we don't know who that other girl is and what happened to her. But isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Do you want to come to me with me to Paris for my opening? It's kind of a good line, I have to say.
And then I went to Paris with him a week later, and then he asked me to marry him in Paris. And I said,
wow.
I said, I'm going to marry you, and I'm going to have your children, but you have to meet my family in Miami first because I'm a good Jewish girl. So he had to fly down to Miami after that. And then we got married a couple, 2.5, 3 years later, and Irene came to the wedding.
Oh, it was the best wedding ever.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
The old parrot jungle down in Coral Gables. We got married in the flamingo pit with all the flamingos around us, and it was a very, very cool. And I had synchronized swimmers.
Oh my God! Yes, that's right. Who has synchronized swimmers at their goddamn wedding, Rachel? But Frank, wait till you see. And we're so running out of time, and this is killing me because Rachel, I didn't even get to cancel culture. There's so many other things that I want to talk to you about.
I'm dying.
So I would love for you to do this again, like a part 2.
Yes, please.
I would love that.
I'm going to bring Frank to your show. And Frank, you would not believe when I say that John Currin's paintings were Rachel breathing and living, you wouldn't believe it. Like this was so meant to be. If you
it is so weird. Life is that way. We're going to be okay. Let's just remember that we're going to be okay. Because I think there is some kind of strange master plan. I really do believe that. I'm a big believer.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm with you on that too.
It's a lot of twists and turns in that master plan. A lot of adversity, but you gotta keep the faith and make it through it.
I totally agree. And maybe by all of this, it's going to be like a bigger and better phoenix coming out of the ashes right now. You know,
I want to believe that, and I believe that in my heart. I really do. I believe that is true in my heart. But Rachel, so I want to take Frank. When you're back, maybe you can meet us at the Jewish Museum.
I would love that.
And I think he would thoroughly enjoy it. It's right near you, Frank. Wait, where is it? The Jewish
92nd between 5th and Madison.
Oh, that's totally near me. That's my hood, basically.
Fabulous. It's a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood.
So I'll come pick him up, and then we'll go and check out Rachel's show. Rachel, I just want you to know, and everybody that's watching this, I want you to know that I'm going to be posting the links to not only her work, but also to the Jewish Museum. If you want to go and check out this show, it is remarkable. We didn't get to a lot of the stuff that I wanted to talk to you again, because I love you and I just wanted to talk to you. You know what I mean?
Love you. I love seeing you. It's so nice
I love seeing you.
Great to meet you.
Thank you so much for doing this. We love you so much. And we'll see you soon. Bye, John.
Bye, John.
Take care.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye. Bye. Bye, brilliant artists in the woods of Maine.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Check us out next week when Frank and Irene sit down with, you know what? I don't know what these two are going to do next, but we'll see you next week.